rifling through those long boxes.
It's gotta be here, it's gotta be here, it's gotta be here. Aha! Here it is!
And bagging those books.
I'm out of bags and boards again.
Welcome to your home for Star Wars comics.
The Cosmic Force Podcast,
A Youtini Podcast Network production. And now, here are your hosts, Parker Kirk, Caleb Lamanek, and Jacob Bosch.
Hello, Jake from the past again. Welcome to this week's episode of The Cosmic Force, your bi-weekly Star Wars comic podcast. We are live not live. We are on youtube.com/Youtini Vault now every other Wednesday, as well as your favorite podcasting app. If you've made it over to the video side of things, welcome. Welcome to this new channel where our podcast will live for the future. You should be able to find all of our old episodes on here as well. So thank you for joining us. If you're an audio listener, again, your life has not changed at all. Same show, same release window, all that good stuff. But with that said, thank you everyone for tuning in. If you want to support the show beyond subscribing to this channel, shout out over to patreon.com/Youtini for as little as $5 a month and exclusive access to the entire Youtini podcast network of shows. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the conversation. Guys, Happy New Year. If I did the math right, I think this is coming out on January 4th. So,
Happy New Year.
Yeah,
May the 4th of the new
May the
year.
4th of January be with you.
May 2024 be with you. Is that that's no good?
No, I dig it.
All right, cool.
It's been a fun year coming back. I think we officially returned in June-ish. I don't know if that sounds right, Caleb. But with Parker heading down the helm, and he unfortunately had to step away. But now we got Oz in the building. It's been a bit of a tumultuous, kind of rocky bump to coming back.
Thank
but it's
you.
been fun. Yeah. Hey, no thanks to Oz.
Yeah,
but
I'm nowhere near as disciplined and certainly less on topic compared to Parker, but I do what I can.
It's been fun. We posted over on, I think, Twitter and Discord, our Spotify wrapped for the podcaster side of things. So it's been nice to see all the people that have enjoyed this show coming back. And I think we've all had a pretty good time just talking about comic books on a bi-weekly basis again, because we've had quite a year in comic books. We'll get into that as we do a bit of a year in review episode. But I guess, kind of winding back a little bit, how's everyone doing the past couple weeks?
Doing great.
Great. I was about to say, like, it feels a little, it hasn't been that long since, we're not, fun fact, we're not doing this, the normal thing. We're not recording this Christmas Day or right after Christmas.
No, we're not. I guess to peel back the curtains, this is, so issue 78, which came out like a month ago at this point. Episode, yeah. Issue episode, it's the same thing.
It's a comic
podcast. We recorded last week. We're doing it in between our every other week cadence, and then episode 79, which you've already listened to at this point, we are recording a week from now. So news, probably not going to be talking about it because, we haven't seen anything new. But by the time you listen to this, whatever has come out by now, old news.
Y'all might know about Bounty Hunters.
Yeah, Revelations is probably out by now. So hey, but yeah, it's it's the end of the year. We're here to talk about the year in comic books, but I guess to start off, I think Oz or Caleb, I don't know, one of you that was not me made a suggestion that for what we're reading, we talk about some of the favorite things we've read over the course of the year.
Yeah, that was me.
Why don't you start us off?
We're going to spend the better part of an hour talking about our favorite Star Wars comics reads of the year. So I figured let's talk about a few non-Star Wars things because sometimes we like to branch out. I just went through my shelf. I was like, what did I read this year? And so I grabbed it. I have props, as I often do. This is sort of cheating, but I reread Day Tripper this year because I got this beautiful Absolute Edition. This is my favorite comic book of all time. It is like 15 years old now, so I don't know if it counts, but I wanted to mention it. Go read it. It's beautiful. It'll make you feel things. It's great. It's by Fabio Moon and Gabriel Ba. They are two Brazilian, I believe, brothers. And it's a story about life and family and loss. Really happy stuff, a lot of really sad stuff. It was cool to read it again 15 years later because I'm 35 now. I was like 20 when I read it. So I took something different from it.
Yeah.
In less heavy things, I also read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin, very popular series. Have not yet read the sequel, but it's sitting on my shelf. I grabbed a top 5. We don't need to talk about all 5, so I'll just skip to probably my favorite thing. It is Star Wars adjacent. It's 8 Billion Genies by Charles Soule and Ryan Brown. One of the 5 was also their previous series, Curse Words. This is old, but I just finally read it this year.
I think I was with you with that one. How'd you like Curse Words?
I loved Curse Words. I've been a fan of Ryan Brown ever since he did a book called God Hates Astronauts, which I think you said you didn't care for.
Yeah, and I think I liked Curse Words a little more than the first issue of God Hates Astronauts I forced myself to get through.
Yeah.
It was a little like I kind of felt like I wasn't sure what I was supposed to be getting from Curse Words, if that makes sense.
I can totally see it. It's so God Hates Astronauts is very chaotic. I think that's one of the books he doesn't script ahead. He just starts drawing and like sees what happens, and then he's like, all right, so it's super over the top, silly. Curse Words kind of dials it back because now he's got Charles Soule writing for him.
Yes.
And then 8 Billion Genies is a lot more structured.
Yes.
It is a complete package, although there has now been, they just put out a bonus issue tie-in. A little disappointing after buying the hardcover, but that happens all the time. It's a fantastic little 8-issue series. It was a pretty quick read, but unlike you said with Curse Words, you kind of know what it is saying, and it's not the most poignant thing ever. You know, it's not like super deep, but it is surprisingly deep for what it feels like on the surface. It is silly and fun, but it also talks about humanity, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I can hop off of that because my favorite thing, I also was going to say 8 Billion Genies. I read it about a month ago, I think. My partner really wanted to read it, so I picked up the hardcover as well when I was at my comic book store recently, and I don't have that prop because she's reading it right now. But fun. I read it all in one night. I think it's a very good like comic to like just sit for an evening and read in one sitting, or 2 sittings maybe. And I did enjoy, of course, being someone who's about to graduate from law school, lawyers being a bad faction in that book. I think was very appropriate. I did actually, I have not received it yet, but I did buy the Wish World
nice
one shot because Charles did a Black Friday, I think, or Cyber Monday sale on his website. So it wasn't much off, but it was free shipping more or less is what it equated to.
Shipping on his site is a little rough if you're just buying like one thing.
Especially if it's like a comic book. You're like, man.
My comic shop, their cover, it did actually come with
that's
a little booklet that I haven't glued in, but I have so many Charles Soule signatures at this point. Like I didn't go out of my way; it just happened to be there.
I think I got.
He's not one I need to hunt down.
3 plus when I get the Wish World thing, and I think that was signed as well. So I guess I have 4 now. Importantly, do not have Rosemary's Soul's signature for Jedi Brave in every way, but
that one was a little pricey in his shop.
That was a little pricey to justify off of his shop, unfortunately. Although I did enjoy that book. I have it, just not the signed version. So that was my favorite non-Star Wars comic book. I also, I read it this year. There's another book I read this year, or an actual book. I have very complicated feelings on it. I think it's a good book, but it's hard to recommend because it's very out there. And that's Archive Undying, which is written by Emma Miko Candon, who wrote Ronin, the Star Wars canon-ish Visions book. I think it was a super interesting, like sci-fi. It's like a sci-fi-ish book with like a feudal Asian setting, and it deals with people that like are essentially Pacific Rim mech pilots, kind of. And its usage of pronouns and the narrator and points of view is kind of scattershot on purpose. It's a bizarre book. I liked it, but it's hard to recommend because it's weird.
If you hadn't mentioned mech pilots, you could have been describing Ronin.
Yeah.
Like, it is. Ronin was cool. I did that in audiobook. I do most of my reading, most of my Star Wars, even in regular books, but I was like you said, it's canon-ish, and I think I had a road trip that month or something, so I did the audiobook, and it's cool. Like I think I want to reread it.
I think it's one of those types of books that's just a cool thing to experience.
Right. I
Like-
see the Archive Undying every time I'm in a bookstore. So I guess it's popular right now, or the publisher really wants it at the front of the shop. I don't know.
But yeah, it's an interesting book. Not one I would lightly recommend just because of how out there it is, but I liked it quite a bit. So, anyways, that's probably my favorite non-Star Wars things. The only other thing I think I read that was not I think maybe I read Fellowship this year, and a book on race and criminal justice. So as intriguing and insightful as that was. Yeah. So Caleb, what about you? What have some been your highlights?
All right. I feel like everyone in my friend group, not just Youtini, but also in my IRL friend group, decide, hey, this is the year we do Mistborn. And guess what? I did the Mistborn trilogy, at least the first 3. And fun fact, if you haven't gone on to Brandon Sanderson bandwagon, it's worth getting on. It's a really fun, they're really beefy books, so like take breaks there in between them, but those were really, really good.
And if you like talking to Youtini people about Star Wars books, there are plenty of them who will happily talk to you about Sanderson books.
In fact, it has its own channel in our Discord server right now. Youtini.com/Discord. Hop on over there. Go to books-Sanderson. I muted it.
I am likewise not on the Sanderson train. Not intentionally. It's just that's a lot, man.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Now, here's one thing that's not a lot. That he wrote a massive amount of books, but they're all like paperbacks that are all like super quick reads. Terry Pratchett, I went through a couple of his today. Let me see here. I think I did Interesting Times and Small Gods this year, and those are great. Like if you just want like, you know, over like a weekend or just like a week's worth of audiobooks, like I need like a palate cleanser, I need something light and fun and happy. Those are great. Just grab one of those Terry Pratchett books. There's a couple guides on where to get started. Guards will be the one I will recommend of where to get started. Don't start with book number 1. It's kind of like saying, oh, you should really watch the pilot episode of your favorite sitcom before you get to season 1.
Oh, sure.
If that makes sense. It's like, you know, the DNA is there, but the execution is not.
Right.
Let's see here. Comic wise, I did 2 massive undertakings and I did complete them. Because of the show last year, I did go through all of Invincible.
So you finished it?
I like the synchronization. Both of you have at the same time. Yes, I did finish all 150 issues.
I wasn't sure if it was still going or not, honestly.
It's done. It is complete. Okay. And I feel like as ridiculous as it sounds, like over those 150 issues, you got a complete story. I was like, of course he did. He will have 150 issues, but I feel like you got like the whole, like, it feels like you got like 50 years of comic book lore in that one section, you know?
Yeah.
It feels like, hey, we did the reboot. Hey, we did the follow up, like your children's arc. We got like a lot of like, you know, the villain redemption arcs and like villains coming back in. It feels like
loads of team ups.
Yeah, it feels like you got like the epicness of like an entire like, hey, I just read all of Superman, but just in 150 issues.
Yeah.
So Invincible was really, really good. I haven't started season 2 yet of the Netflix show, but of the Amazon show, but I'm sure it will be good and well put together because the first season changed a few things with the pacing of the books, but all for the better.
Yeah, I liked the show a lot. I made it like halfway through the comic years ago and never picked it back up, but I intend to eventually.
It's really, really good. And then the last thing I did is I did not do a One Piece reread this time, but I did do a Hajime no Ippo, or the Fighting at Ippo. That's a manga that actually has a longer running run time or publication time than
One Piece. Is that possible?
Yes, number of chapters. I'm now weekly with it. It has One Piece just dropped chapter 1101. Ippo is currently at 1,400 and something, like 112 or so. It is amazing. Like if you have like any desire, which I see the incredulity in your guys' eyes here. It's fascinating. Like it's a really good like sports manga, but the sport is boxing, so it's instantly like, oh, we can do tournament arcs, but it makes completely logical sense.
So I've not read a lot of manga. How long typically is a chapter? Like just a few pages, I assume.
Not like it's about 18-ish pages.
Oh, geez, so long.
But they are smaller pages. Like
sure,
here's your
there's
average,
not as there's not as much going on, but still,
here's your average comic book page.
So
slightly smaller. It's black and white.
With does it have a anime adaptation?
Yes, but it stopped they started it in like 99 and ended it in like the first season in like 2002.
Okay, I was wondering with anime pacing, like how long do they stretch out a single boxing match? A boxing match is like 4 episodes long.
The boxing match
charging a punch for an episode.
Well, it's not quite a charging a punch. Like they do keep it relatively realistic. So but they can do like 1 3-minute round of boxing across one episode.
Yeah,
but it still feels like every episode is like, hey, we ended round 2, so now we're going into round 3. So there's like there's a momentum.
He's in the corner with his trainer for like 5 minutes. The characters aren't even moving. It's just mouths being animated, and that's it. We got to cut on budget, dude.
Well, it's that, and then they cut to the audience that is watching, and we get the audience's internal monologue. And then we cut to the other corner so we can see the villain's internal monologue.
I always loved that of the tournament episodes of Dragon Ball Z. The crowd dialogue when they're like discussing what's happening out there.
That's like where 90% of the time goes to. But the best part about being boxing is like you don't really kill off your villain, so like you can have an entire arcs later on where like, hey, Frieza and Piccolo are now fighting this entire time, and because we didn't kill them off, we can still have them like box each other, and it's still great.
I need to tell you something about Frieza. You can kill him off and he still comes back.
I need a modern take on like a tournament based manga or anime, so you can have dudes in the crowd being like, oh my god, I'm on my 6th leg of my parlay with Frieza right now. I just need him to take out Goku.
This manga is brought to you by
it's gonna hit.
Actually, DraftKings would be a pretty sick name for that series. We were talking about sponsored
the ranking of DraftKings.
Yeah, about sponsored comics a few episodes ago.
The time I got reincarnated as the DraftKings app in a isekai world.
I just learned about isekai last weekend from a friend. He said he's really tired of every new thing coming out being isekai. I was like, I didn't know this was a problem. There's a whole world I wasn't aware of.
It is a massive problem. Jacob, have you come across that term yet?
I'm Googling it right now. Portal fantasy is the subject.
Sort of like it happens a lot. Like the first one was the Sword Art.
Okay, I see.
Isekai essentially means it's a Japanese term for another world. So oftentimes your normal protagonist guy is just doing his schlubby everyday things, gets hit by a truck, and then wakes up in a fantasy world with all of his like memories.
There's a Suicide Squad isekai anime coming out. I saw
that's airing right now.
Yeah, my friend sent me that trailer. He was like, "Oh my god, another freaking one!"
Is it Harley Quinn focused?
It is.
That would make a lot of sense.
The main character, it seemed to be from the trailer. I haven't
Shark
watched
is
it.
there too. Arcane Shark is there, and a couple others.
Classic.
So it's a problem. Like 90%. Well, like
I guess
at least
this is what people
30%
are
of the shows are isekais at this point, and people are getting a little tired.
Well,
it's
clearly there's
Marvel solo superhero origin film of Japanese anime pretty much right now.
It 100% is. I know you two just learned about it, but 100% is.
Well, when I get into anime 15 years from now, Caleb, I'm going to be hitting up your DMs being like, what is with all of this isekai nonsense? Anyways, we have a lot of Star Wars comics to talk about. A lot. In fact, I did the counting. The counting of everything that's come out this year, and as far as I can tell, I believe there are 137 comics or things that have come out this year.
Does that include December? What's coming out?
Yes, that I did project through the end of the year, assuming we don't have any delays in the next couple weeks. We have 48 issues from the ongoings, including Star Wars, Darth Vader, Dr. Aphra, and Bounty Hunters. 29 High Republic issues from High Republic Phase 2, The Blade, High Republic Adventures, Nameless Terror, Quest of the Jedi, Free Comic Book Day, High Republic Adventures, Shadows of Starlight, and then the Phase 3 Marvel and Dark Horse series. 12 issues from events, including Hidden Empire, Dark Droids, and D-Squad. 24 issues from various miniseries from Han Solo and Chewbacca, Yoda, Son of Staros, and Return of the Jedi one-shots, as well as Vader Black, White, and Red. Another 12 issues from assorted things, including Hyperspace Stories, the Jackson Annual, the Visions Peach Momoko issue, and Revelations, which we should note, we are recording this before this comes out, so anything that is related to that, we don't know about it right now. Another 12 issues from television adaptations of both Mando Season 1, Season 2, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and additional various things, including Tales from the Death Star, Edge of Balance Precedent. I believe the Mando manga came out this year.
Yeah.
I think that's everything. There might be some weird something I missed, but 130 something plus comic stories, which is a lot.
That's a lot.
I was about to say, let me just do the math here. That is 11.41666 repeating, of course. Comics per month, roughly.
It's that extra 6 repeating that really gets you.
Exactly. Just like, that's at least one every 3 days.
It's pushing almost 3 issues a week, which is insane to think about.
Especially for those of you out there who buy the floppies.
Yeah.
If you get everything, that's why I gave up floppies like a decade ago when I was reading Marvel stuff, because events and crossovers would happen, and I'd get home from the shop. I'm like, I just spent $50 that I didn't know I was going to spend this morning.
Yeah.
I mean, buying trades adds up too, let alone if you're an Omni guy or if you have to rebuy stuff because they keep re-releasing it in different formats. But that's not what today's about.
No. I mean, it is, but also no. So yeah, so much happened.
Like, is this maybe the busiest year of Star Wars comics? I know we didn't do this last year, but
it'd be hard to beat it. Certainly in canon, we haven't beaten it.
Like the 3 crossover events, the 3 adaptations that we have going on. That's like 20 issues right there.
Yeah. So for reference, I said 137-ish issues that came out this year. When we started the show, this was back in like April of 2021. I made like a personal like spreadsheet to like catch myself up with all Star Wars comics that had been released canon as of that date. So about 6 years worth of comics for Star Wars, and I believe it was in the ballpark of 500 issues at that time between Marvel and IDW. So averaging less than 100 issues per year, and we had 130, almost 150 issues this year. So that's a pretty big increase.
All those adaptations definitely push it over. Like, I know it's not a ton, but it's
it's another extra, 12 issues plus
another
manga.
1 or 2 a month.
We got Hyperspace Stories, all the, we have a ton of miniseries, which I guess like next year we will have less maybe mainline series, but we will still have plenty of mini series to go through.
We have no idea what's coming. We have some idea, but I think there's plenty more. We were just talking before the show about the novel slate is looking pretty clean right now, which is sort of nice because we've had a busy couple years with the High Republic. And
this year actually wasn't that many novel releases, to be honest. I went back and looked. It's not that crazy.
I guess you're right. I read a fair amount of non-Star Wars stuff. Anyway, it's nice to have a break, especially because there are new fans getting in every day, and I see people post like, "I want to read everything canon." I'm like, "Buckle up, dude."
Good luck, dude. So you don't realize how much there is.
How did the next 3 years of your life look, man?
Right. Yeah. I've only been keeping up because I started on day 1 with a new Dawn, and like, if I was jumping in now, no chance.
Wait, Oz, excuse me. What?
Okay, with Ezra's Gamble, thank you.
Yeah. But okay, so aside from just like the sheer quantity of things come out from like a story perspective, we started the year off kind of with the end of Hidden Empire, the end of the Kira trilogy, her plan to overthrow the Empire, obviously failing. Return of the Jedi is still a movie that came out in 1983.
Could you imagine?
I had a running joke with one of my friends online that like Kira's going to retcon Return of the Jedi for like months. Unfortunately, that did not happen.
Kathleen Kennedy fired?
Sorry, bestie Liv. It did not happen. Dark Droids, of course, is happening right now. By the time this comes out, it's probably going to be done. That's what's going on currently with Star Wars comics. We got the end of the High Republic Phase 2. And now we're starting up the High Republic Phase 3 as it's happening. So it's, mirroring what's happening in the novels. There's a lot going on there. And then, again, at what's happening currently right now, at the end of the year, we have Revelations hinting at the future of Star Wars comics. We have the end of Bounty Hunters in the new year. We have the end of Dr. Aphra in the new year. The Hyperspace Stories graphic novels are coming out next year. There's so much going on in Star Wars comics as we seem to be winding down with the 2020 post Empire Strikes Back era of storytelling. And obviously, this next year will not be the end of the High Republic as it extends into 2025. But yeah, just a lot happening overall.
Although currently the backs of the issues stop at 10. I don't think it's gonna stop. I don't know. We'll see.
It's very hard to know what they're gonna do, if they're gonna put a break in at some point.
Yeah. Now, so kind of quick overall, how have you guys felt about this last year? Going back and looking about it, it's like, man, we have had some pretty big bangers this year, haven't we? Hidden Empire was pretty okay, but I feel like
Hidden Empire.
It was okay, but once that ended, I feel like we had a really nice resurgence. There's a couple of great arcs in Star Wars, a couple of great arcs in the Dr. Aphra series, and then we got into the next big crossover, which I feel like a lot of us had that big fatigue. But man, Dark Droids has been really, really good so far. So I feel like this has been a really great year, especially with, the start of Phase 3, the ending of Phase 2, all like that.
I think the two issues, there are two issues for every ongoing that happened between Dark Droids and Hidden Empire. And they were all, I think, very solid, with Luke going to find his Kyber crystal, and Dr. Aphra and Luke teaming up for the first time since Screaming Citadel, and Darth Vader and Aphra teaming up again since the first time since,
he killed her.
Yeah, the end of Vader 2015, basically. And I think Valance got traumatized again. I can't remember exactly which issues those were. I think you're right. Yeah. So he has memory wiped. So fun casual.
It's right there. Actually, he fought Battlefield 2.
Yeah. I think you chose a really nice word in there, Caleb. Fatigue is kind of how I felt. Like I mentioned, I think it's too many issues. There has been a lot of good stuff. Part of the reason I stopped reading Marvel comics was crossovers. It was more complicated than that, but I liked the era of canon when Star Wars and Vader were doing their own thing. This has been a really cool, now almost 30 straight issues of everything going in and out, weaving in and out of each other. Ever since War of the Bounty Hunters, which was probably a 2021 comic.
That's correct. It was about April or May of 2021.
Yeah, so this is almost 3 years of things have done, split off on their own some, but of just feeling like you really need to keep up with everything, which like we just said, can be tough, even though it's what we do. I think the High Republic has shined for me, but I've been a big High Republic fan since day one, and Jacob and I are maybe the two biggest Phase 2 stands around.
I think
at least on Youtini's staff, we definitely are.
I think I'm with you on Phase 2. I think Phase 2 is going to be way more important the farther we get into.
Yeah,
correct. It already is.
Yeah, so I liked the Phase 2 Marvel run. I think it was tight. Well, we'll talk more about it because I picked it for one of our. We've got some categories upcoming. But I think it's been a good year. If you're not a sicko like us and you just like to pick and choose what you like, it's probably been a great year for you because there's something for everyone. And there's been a lot of really cool stuff, but it's a lot. It's one downside.
Yeah, I think the crazy thing is the like you're saying, with this interconnected universe that's been going on for 3 years now, basically, or not 3 years, sorry, 2.5 years essentially. It started at the same time as the High Republic, which is also a massive, expansive, very interconnected universe. So, High Republic started in, if you don't count the Insider issue, it started in January of 2021. And War of the Bounty Hunters started, I think, in April 2021. So, yeah, basically right next to each other, you've had
that's crazy.
Two very interconnected worlds going on nonstop.
Yeah, here's confession time. of these 137 issues that were released this year, I probably read maybe about 100 of them. I didn't read all of these.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I did not read the adaptations. I have not read Hyperspace Stories.
I haven't finished Hyperspace Stories.
Yeah,
I did do Hyperspace Stories, but I haven't touched the adaptations. Let me see here.
I'm telling myself when Mando season 2 and Kenobi wrap up, I'm gonna go back and just binge them all to say I have.
I feel like you say that every time.
No, I've been saying that for a while for this specific ending.
Yeah, and I feel like in a lot of these ones, like like Vader, I can't just like skim through. Like oftentimes I'll like read it just to make sure I can't get the overall idea, and with the thought of like when I get a trade, I'll come back and like read it through a lot more thoroughly.
That's typically what I do. Yeah.
I think it's important that even though we read, Caleb literally just said we don't read everything. We read almost everything. You don't have no one has to read everything. You don't, as a fan, have to force yourself to read everything. It's not fun. You will burn out.
It can be fun, but it wears on you.
Yeah, if you don't like a run, drop it.
If you're here and you're only reading like Star Wars mainline here, that's fine. You're as big a fan as we are, okay? We're not here to browbeat, fans and gatekeep what is and is not a Star Wars comic fan.
Unless you haven't read Edge of Balance Precedent.
Which we will get to.
Yes, I think maybe we should jump in and do some pseudo year-end awards.
We're going to give some awards. These are individual. We are all just saying it's some of our favorites. This is not the Youtinis. I'm not sending a 3D printed trophy to anyone on this list, but hey, this is I appreciate you. Maybe if I have enough energy, I will Photoshop here's my slate of favorites for the year.
Be sure to spell everything right.
Yes, I will not. Shoot, what was the word that you got?
We did a Youtini March Madness thing.
March Madness and Madness.
It was all very last minute because it ended right during celebration. Someone was like, "Oh, we should print up certificates and give them to Kevin and Charles because Charles Soule won." Actually, I think Kevin Scott's Rising Storm won Best Book, and then Light of the Jedi came in second. And so I was like, "Yeah, I'll whip them up." I emailed them to the convention center. They printed them. Trev got them, and he and Alexander went and gave it to him. And after they had gotten them and individually posted them on their socials, someone noticed I misspelled the word madness. I didn't put
it's no D
in, I think I left a letter out.
Yeah, it's either N or D was left off of the word
I
madness.
caught a lot of flack for that, and I was like, I sent this preview image to several people, and no one caught it. And I'm sure that they didn't see it. I don't know. I wonder if they still have it. They took it on a roller coaster there. They went to
like a Splash Mountain.
Yeah. If it was Splash Mountain, they definitely don't have them anymore. I
think it was Splash Mountain or Space Mountain are one of those two.
But that was pretty cool to see them do that. Anyway, these are the Cosmic Force personal kudos discussions.
Our own Youtinis with blackjack and hookers and comic books.
And comic books. If you want to put it on your Twitter feed, go right ahead.
Let's get into it.
We would like to know at the end of this about what y'all's favorites are too.
Yeah, if you have your own thoughts, tweet at us, throw them in the Discord channel. I'm sure Michael Fry and some of our more dedicated listeners now are going to have some thoughts. Michael, post your thoughts.
We're calling you out specifically.
Tell us why we're wrong.
He was crazy enough to listen to our Empire Strikes Back Patreon commentary. So shout out Michael. But
you got your $5 a month worth.
post your thoughts in the chat, and we'll definitely kind of go back and forth and have some fun. But first category we have is the best ongoing, and the nominees are I'm not gonna read nominees for all of them because I don't. Anyways, the nominees are Star Wars, Darth Vader, Dr. Aphra, Bounty Hunters, and probably the High Republic Phase 2 because the High Republic Phase 3 has not been out long enough. I
feel like we could almost say the High Republic.
Just the High Republic.
The High Republic generic.
It's all by Kevin and Ario. Whatever.
Yeah.
And Daniel Jose Older and Harvey Tolabao.
Well, that's High Republic Adventures.
Okay. Generic High Republic and generic High Republic Adventures. We're separating them.
That's the one.
All right. starting off. I will take it off first. We'll rotate around. My favorite ongoing of the year, not surprising to anyone who's listened to me talk on this podcast, it is Bounty Hunters
What a
2020 by
shock.
Ethan
What a
Saxon, mainly Paolo Villanelli on art for this year. I think it was a very fantastic run for the series. It's very heartbreaking. He's been going through it. I'm scared for this series to end in like 2 months or a month and a half. Yeah, we're almost there. I think it's been a very solid run this year with the events on Bastine and Valance getting his mind wiped and having to come to the terms with the death of Yura and all the things he's gone through. I think the cast of characters, including Tonga, Losha, and Zuckus and everyone else, has also really shown well this year. So I think that is why Bounty Hunters Balance Nation Shoutout is my number one ongoing comic of the year.
Like, here's the
Alright.
thing. I think you're not wrong. Bounty Hunters is really good, but I would say the best part about Bounty Hunters is not Valance. It's everyone else around him. It's Losha and the crew that's built around them. Like every
Yeah,
time
Tonga, I love Tonga.
yeah, Tonga, Losha, like, and then of course just like Bosk in the background, just like as a ticking time bomb there. It's
Okay,
great.
I have to stop you there. Are either of you familiar with Balance? Not Balance. Balance with a B as in boy.
Oh, like the concept of balance?
In specifically in regards to Bounty Hunters.
Oh, no, is this some fan thing?
It is the ship name for
Yeah.
Bosk and Valance.
Oh god.
Oh,
Please tell me it all spins out of the War of the Bounty Hunters one. Oh wait, no, that wasn't Bosk. That was Zuckus.
No.
No, Bosk and Valance. I think one of the best panels for it was there was one. I think it was when they were going after Boba Fett at some point. There's like a picture of all of them like sat together and they are sitting next to each other. But yeah, that is a nice little fun fanship for you there. So I'm happy to educate you all on that.
I don't understand the circles you find yourself in.
It's Twitter. It's called
my
Twitter.
my Twitter mutual is a lot of like early 20s.
Yeah,
People?
it's shippers. Yeah, no, I get
Yeah.
it. You don't have to describe them. That sounded really negative. That's not what I meant.
No,
It's just not a world I'm in.
I am not even demographically aligned with most of the people I would say I interact with on a daily basis. But Balance Nation, Valance Nation, I support you. Oz, what was your favorite comic book ongoing this year?
I think I got to go with the High Republic. Like I said, I did actually really come around on Bounty Hunters this year. It was never my favorite, just because I don't think I really got it at the beginning. Came around, but the High Republic, like I said, I've been a stan since day one. I have however many variant covers of all the books. I've bought the comics way too many times because they keep putting them out in different formats. The Omni is great looking. I was just flipping through it the other day, but more importantly, this was phase 2. I think entirely. I don't think any of phase 1 happened in 23.
Yeah.
And I thought that
actually,
okay. Of
the High
Marvel,
Republic, the High Republic
Marvel
Adventures Free Comic Book Day.
yes, which I did love. I think actually in phase 1, High Republic Adventures, I maybe liked that run better. For phase 2, I got to go with Kevin Scott on the Marvel run. I thought it was a tighter story than the phase 1. It partly because it all took place over like 30 minutes, like the entirety of the Battle of Jeddah.
Yeah.
But it was cool. What's the main dude's name?
Vildar?
No, the little purple guy.
Oh, Tay.
Yeah,
Tay,
Tay Sarek. Which I remember there were early theories that he was going to be the bandaged man.
Yes, yeah. No, that was a popular one.
He's not. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a cool character. His little droid's great. Jeddah's a cool place. Great book. Great art all throughout. It was mostly Ario, and there were a couple fill-in issues that unfortunately I don't remember.
You are familiar with Vilti Nation, at least, right?
I can put the two names together.
Yeah.
Isn't there a pretty significant age gap there?
I don't know what the age gap is. It's like actually pretty a significant ship to the point where Cavan addressed it on the London main stage at Celebration.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So a lot of people think it's like not like I would say strictly canon, but near canon or at least implied.
Okay, I think I just assumed she was. Yeah, because isn't she a Padawan?
No, Vildar and Tay, not Maddie.
Oh, Viltay. Okay, I took
Viltay.
T.
Oh, it's
from Maddie.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
okay.
Okay, the age gap thing makes way more sense. Why you would
Okay.
say that? I'm like,
Oh.
I don't know, dude.
There's still a bit of an age gap there.
Yeah,
I don't like
Tay does seem a little younger, but no, it's not like problematic.
No. They're consenting adults.
Okay. Yeah, I
And
mean,
one is
in
the
the High
Arby's
Republic,
boss.
they're all. The High Republic is just. It's
Everyone
unfair
is
for
everyone,
shippers because
yeah.
it's too easy, and
It's
they're
a-
all immediately canon the second you
It's a
speak it
target
into existence.
environment, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know.
Yeah, great book. Love the High Republic. I am looking forward to. Oh wait, no, the Blade doesn't count. I'm looking forward to the Omni, but it is going to be tiny. 14
Yeah, it's going to
issues.
have 14 issues of the 10 issues of High Republic and the 4 issues of the Blade. Just a little bit bigger than the canon on hardcover, but yeah.
And technically it's got that backup story from issue 1, which I think is
nice.
a few extra free pages.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, with Olivia. So
Yeah.
Anyways,
Nice.
Caleb, what is your ongoing comic book of the year?
It's going to be Star Wars 2020, and there's a couple reasons, and I feel like, well, okay, we'll get into it right now. One, it has Lando and Lobot.
Yeah, it's like Lando and Lobot. Yeah.
Lando and Lobot. That's automatically a great thing. But I love it because you get like so many different flavors. I was just going through what came out this year. We got the tail end of like that no space sort of thing where we had like all of our heroes like put together in a weird like space-bound environment, which tied into the High Republic. But it's also its own like, hey, we gotta escape this like abandoned island, like this mysterious island and this thing here. Then we immediately go into Luke having his vision quest with his Kuiper crystals, so we got great like crystal lore there. Then we got Nimnub's origin story as they did a bombing run on Coruscant. Then we got Lando and Lobot fighting droids here. Like you get such a great variety of things. Like Star Wars is great because it can jump from different genre to different genres very quickly. And the Star Wars 2020 run, I feel like especially this year, had a great showing, like a great vertical slice of all the things it could do.
I noticed you didn't mention the disco pants.
Oh,
that was a pretty
and
crucial.
the throw, yeah.
And the fro, yep.
You joked earlier about doing favorite panel of the year. It's probably that.
That one's up there. That is a contender.
It's a great panel, and it shows, and it does a great thing. And I've heard the argument, and in my past I've made the argument that sometimes it can be a little annoying or a little detrimental just to read these things like, oh boy, I wonder if Lobot and Lando is going to survive this thing. It's not like we see them in the movies, like the movies that set things in canon. But I like it when you can go back and give like greater depth to characters and to these sorts of interactions. Like now we know that Amilyn Holdo and Lando kind of had a thing together.
That is true.
So now I will not be able to watch episode 8 of that thing there without feeling a little bad for Lando there.
Yeah.
An old flame.
Oh yeah. Do you think that do you think they told Lando when they got
does Lando know about her sacrifice above Crate?
When they get to Kasana, they're like, hey, great party. I gotta tell you, Holdo's gone. But she saved the universe.
I don't know the last time you checked on her Facebook page, but Holdo did not make it.
It's a memorial now.
I did like that section that you mentioned where they were doing kind of like 2 issues, like that Coruscant issue was so good. That's probably my favorite of that run. But I like when the Star Wars run breaks it up between different characters. I mean, I like when they're all together too, but obviously they don't have Han right now, so they can't be.
Well, but Lando's filling in for Han. That's that.
Sure.
That thing with the null space issue. Then we did Luke's issue, and Lando's issue. And now we're kind of bringing them all back together for this tail end of Dark Droids.
Yeah. And eventually, Luke will build his lightsaber.
Yeah, in issue 42-ish, probably it looks like he's gonna purify his crystal, and
check out Free Comic Book Day, May 4th,
2024. Anyways. All right,
that's the ongoing ones.
Yes, we're moving on. The next category is the best miniseries. There are many nominees that I probably won't be able. I guess The Blade, The Nameless Terror, Shadows of Starlight. I guess did we have an event?
Like Dark
Droids. So
Dark Droids and Hidden Empire.
Dark Droids, Hidden Empire, and D Squad. Technically Han Solo and Chewbacca, even though only 2 issues of that came out this year. Yoda.
That's the stuff.
Sonostaros, Return of the Jedi, the One Shot Collection, Vader Black, White, and Red. I guess 8 issues of hyperspace stories. And we're not talking about the adaptations. Let's be honest. So,
hey, if you pick it, then you get to talk about it.
Yeah, you can. If you want to pick Mando Season 2, go ahead. But with that complicated, caveated list of nominees, we're gonna flip it around. Caleb, what is your favorite miniseries of the year?
This is going to be a Dark Horse one, and not because Dark Horse published it, but I think I'm going to pick The Nameless Terror, the 4-issue High Republic 2 series.
I
strongly considered it. I think it's definitely like at least my honorable mentions.
I really liked it a lot. It felt like a Doctor Who episode, like an early Doctor Who episode of like, oh no, we're in a really dangerous thing and there's some big unspeakable creature out there that's slowly picking off this like random party one by one until we can figure out a way to get through it and get off of it. Now here's one thing. I literally just finished Path of Vengeance. And like I just was like reading it, and I was rereading this comic. Like, wait a second, is this the freighter from 2?
Yep, the one that left the Planet X along with
and just kind of popped out.
The one that did not make it.
I tried to like. They never used like direct nouns for any of these when I was like skimming
they
through.
Didn't.
So it's like, one, it doesn't say that, and 2, like those guys are like, oh, we're now the path of the closed fist.
Closed
like,
fist, yeah, okay. Don't get Trevor started on that.
That is technically a continuity error. He shouldn't know about the closed fist yet because that happens in the caves. But because I did the same thing. I think there is a shared line of dialogue, or there's something that shows you it's definitely the same.
Yeah,
instance.
it's one of them is Shay Ganandra's boyfriend husband dude that got her pregnant is on that other ship.
Yeah. And it was like,
that's
okay,
real
quick, just me, like, is her child important in phase 1?
It is probably. I don't think. I think timeline wise, it probably makes more sense that Shay is the grandmother of Marie Santeca. Some people think she's the mom. Martian Rose, little path generating human corpse in a tank. I think Shay is probably her grandmother, just based on like timeline.
Okay, well, and the other thing is like, to tie into comics, they're like, and then the youngling Tromac. I'm like, it's like,
yes,
that's the elder from High Republic Adventures.
Yeah, I missed that too until Jacob pointed that out to me.
Also, another, I think this might have been Cataclysm. Elder Barbatash was briefly mentioned. He's in Race to Crash Point Tower, also of the same sect as Elder Tromac. And then when you get to phase 3, you get to meet Baron Bulin. So,
Bulin's cool.
But anyway, The Nameless Terror is just a kind of a great like little bottle episode, just 4 issues, brand new characters. So you like, there's that risk of, oh boy, which one of these are going to die? Because like, not all of them are going to make it out. So it's a really kind of like a straightforward thing. It also has like a framing story with Ty York, which I'm glad to see her again. She's a great character. I don't think it adds much to the story, to be honest.
No,
Ty's the go-to character that tells framing stories in the High Republic.
Yeah, that was so funny that we were talking during phase 2 about how they were doing a good job at basically just presenting it as its own thing.
Yeah.
Then the first page of that comic book, it says 150 years before the fall of Starlight. It's like, oh, okay. So no, you really can't read this. I mean, you could read it first, whatever. We all knew Starlight was going to fall from the beginning anyway.
Yeah.
But it was just like they sort of dropped the pretense. But I did like that series. I think George Mann's been a great addition to the team.
For sure. All right, Oz, what is your winner of Best Miniseries?
I went through a couple of them as well, but I think, and it's almost cheating, I went with Yoda because it was sort of like 4 miniseries in one, or like 3 and an epilogue.
3.5, yeah.
Because Yoda would have probably also won Best Single Issue. I don't think we ended up doing that category, solely for just the pure hype that was issue 10. And seeing that sort of phase 3 tease with Kiev. But all 3 of the other arcs were really good too. I liked the one that took place at some nebulous point in the High Republic. The first one.
It was about 20 years before phase 1, I can tell you that.
Then the second one with Dooku, how it tied in with Jodie Hauser's other Age of Republic one shot. And then I don't even remember what the third one is.
Third one was the Anakin one with like the Clone Wars.
Oh, with him versus Grievous and all. Yeah.
I mean, it was all really good. And despite having like 3 different writers and 3 arcs, it felt cohesive. I'm really excited for that big, thick trade paperback to come out soon. Great stuff. My honorable mention, to get back to the High Republic, because I can't leave it alone, was going to be the Blade. But it was just a little short, is the only complaint.
I feel like I wanted to like the Blade a lot more than I did.
Yeah. The Blade had better moments than it had story. Like, it had a lot of cool individual things.
I feel like that maybe it needed like a couple more issues to really flesh it out.
I would agree with that.
Time, like, there's like
hopefully will be coming.
The twist at the end or whatever, where his sister's like, "Oh, I can't believe I made such a big, huge, massive mistake. I really messed it all up." It's like, it's not that big of a deal, girl.
I think the twist for me was her not dying. I just thought she was a goner.
We thought that's what the bearish vow was going to be.
Yeah, but no, she takes the vow. But yeah, it's weird for me because I think the best issue of the Blade was the first one, and that did not come out this year. So,
oh yeah, that's a good point.
Not that discounts it. My favorite, I think, is Sana Staros. I really liked. I've been really impressed with Justina Ireland's comic book writing. She doesn't do it that often. It's been basically Sana Staros and like the Jabba the Hutt one shot.
High Republic Adventures.
High Republic Adventures annual. Yeah. I got the nice Stellan Geos from here. The off topic, but I got the lightsaber. Super sick.
Nice.
No blade. Anyways.
Humble brag.
But yeah, so I think between all like what she's done, I've really liked her comic book writing. And Sana Staros was great. I think it was a great character. Focus on a character who has been around in Star Wars comics since issue 4, I think, of Star Wars 2015.
Was that early?
Yeah, no, it's like they get off of.
I think she was in the second arc because it was Stuart Eminem drawing it.
So like they were setting her up in the first arc. Like her first appearance was like her boots and a cloak in the episode 4.
Yeah, she was around because right when they leave like that Imperial weapon facility, they land and Han Solo's like Han gets picked up and like, I was your wife. But yeah,
that was such a big moment.
And then it was like it's kind of a joke. But anyways, so she's such a big character who's been a part of Star Wars comics for the canon's perspective since the beginning. And this was her first real spotlight she's gotten. I think Justina Ireland, specifically writing it, did such a great job. I loved the family focused aspect of everything, of like really here's the Star Wars clan and everything they've been through and how, what the world they live in, especially after the Staros we see in the High Republic and where they are now. So yeah, I really, really love that issue or that series. I really wish there's more than 5 issues, to be honest. I think that's a hallmark of a good miniseries is you wish it was way longer.
I wish it was longer. We got my babe, Dave Alon Pop showing up. That's always great. And like legitimately, it's fun to see like the Sana Staros, like a black woman of color, written by Justina Ireland. Woman, like you're seeing like people write, like we're seeing people writing like things. We're seeing a lot more diversity here into the media, and it's nice to see that sort of like organic sort of diversity, and we're seeing some really fun stories come out of it. Like we're getting up like I don't know if anyone else would have like made like I feel like a lot of times we just see a lot of loners in Star Wars, but Star Wars is about family. It's nice to see kind of like a family adventure there, but not like not a young Jedi adventure, family adventure. Like, hey, we're all putting the aunts and uncles, all the aunts and cousins
from together. From a representation standpoint, I think it's always a very good sign when we're getting to like the obligatory Black History Month and Pride Month variants, and there's actually a person in the comic that reflects that value rather than like we're just going to stick, a random representational character on a comic book that has nothing to do with him. Like,
like if Lando was on the main,
the High Republic,
like Vader or the High Republic or something like that.
It's but
because they did both those sets, and there was a lot of representation there. I too liked it, and I wished it was longer because I thought there were some pacing issues because like a lot of the scenes just sort of jumped to the next one, and some of that might be Justina Ireland still like finding her footing on what works in novels versus comic books. I don't know.
She had 5 issues to work with, and
right, exactly.
That is
I slept on that series for a little while, and then finally read the trade. I was like, "Oh, this is pretty good." And then we had a big argument about when it takes place, and
Yep.
I was
You
correct.
won. Yeah.
I also did find out the trade paperback. If you've got it, open it up. The summary at the beginning, the sort of opening crawl, is incorrect. It is the one from issue 2. So it spoils the first issue of the comic book. I don't know how they messed that up.
I feel like that happens all the time with trade collections somehow.
Anyway,
they always cool had to have one error.
Yeah. But nice. All right, we probably got to pick up our pace a little bit. We can to, what's next?
Best arc or graphic novel, kind of a interesting category. I am not going to read out the nominees because what even would that be?
Like I think all of us can pick different even variations here. So Oz, why don't we start with you?
Well, the one I went to was sort of cheating, but you had already written it down in your notes, so I'm going to let you talk about it. So what I was between two. I have written down Vader, Black, White, and Red, but actually I think it's going to be Tales from the Death Star. Black, White, and Red is a lot of fun, but well, I don't know. I'm looking forward to the Treasury Edition in January.
Oh yeah, that's coming soon. Yeah.
But Tales from the Death Star was a big surprise. I liked Rancor Pit last year. I was mad about the format of it. Again, this is not a podcast about formats. But they fixed that. Well, or you could say it's a problem because they broke precedent. But with Death Star and the stories were really good. The art is fantastic.
Yeah.
I've got it here because I wanted to shout out specifically. The framing story was Sue Lee drew it. It was what's her name, Jana from the Rise of Skywalker.
Oh right, yeah.
Is searching for Death Star 2 remains and all that. That art is really good, but all the other artists are fantastic. I can shout them out because I've got the table of contents opened, and I think it's only fair to give them. We've got Vincenzo Riccardi, Fico Ossio, who also did
the cover for Quest of the Jedi, right? Or
I think he did Quest of the Jedi, which did come out finally this year. Juan Samu and Ingo Romling from the Rebels comics. He did a bunch of. So some familiar faces in there, but I know people skip out on some of the kids stuff, which I get. But Tales from the Death Star was good. It was sort of a return to the old Tales from Vader's Castle feeling.
Also, the Tarkin story, so good.
Yeah.
If you are a Rogue One girly, you need to read this. Just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah, it recontextualizes his time sort of in between those two films.
I'm curious when that happened in relation to of mice, droids, and men, or whatever.
SC6 and men.
Yeah. When was the timeline connection between?
That's technically not confirmed to be Tarkin.
That's true. Or no, it. Yeah. Okay. I guess. Yeah. Anyways, my favorite story that I stole because I filled out filled out our show notes before Oz is Edge of Balance Precedent. This is a fantastic manga. It is genuinely one of my favorite High Republic stories, period, that has ever come out. Even I've read every single book, everything. This is one of my favorites.
It goes so hard.
The art from Tomio Ogata is insane. It's very surreal horror in a way Star Wars does not see very often, and it is like Oz mentioned earlier that we are phase 2 enjoyers, phase 2 defenders when need be. This comic or this manga is finding more and more ways to somehow be relevant in the phase 3 of the High Republic. I really liked here's like the classic panel of this
when I got to that page, I was like, oh, this is something else. Like he's cooking.
With Aslan's eyes just bleeding and has gone white. I loved the addition of Master Robna is like one of my favorite Glup Shido Jedi. It's just such
immediately she comes in, she has such a great character moment, and then immediately gets killed off. It's like, oh, that's
that's High Republic. Say that it is if you're only going to read one thing from phase 2, it is that.
I guess now, if you're going down to just one, it's definitely it's up there.
It is crucial
Now-
for Shadows of Starlight, which I think is going to be crucial for
Now-
Phase 3 as a whole.
Right.
Quick question, because I literally just did Path of Vengeance. I feel like Aslan is appearing in 2 places at once here.
So this
Yeah,
kind
this-
of
It also
does
said,
double
oh, yeah,
dip a little bit.
It also says, oh yeah, and Master Arkov. I'm like, wait, Arkov was a knight or Padawan at this point, right?
No, he was a Jedi Knight. So this manga double dips a little bit. It does tell some of the events in Path of Vengeance of them being on Dalna. It's a lot more focused on Aslan's perspective, where Aslan's kind of the tertiary character in the book.
But you see the beginning of the manga in Path of Vengeance, which is also happening over in Cataclysm to the side.
A lot of overlapping stories in the Night of Sorrows or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
But then this manga goes probably months after the events of Dalna.
It does.
With him basically being at an insane asylum and recovering from his encounter with the Nameless.
And just singing Shri Karai Karai to himself.
So yeah, a very, very important manga. If you Oz says it's the one story if you're going to read only one thing from Phase 2. I would say if you're going to do my patented shortened Phase 2 reading order for people that don't like it as much is Path of Deceit, Path of Vengeance manga.
Yeah,
which is weird to say, but So without
it's objectively correct, and I'll fight anyone who says otherwise.
Stand on
I won't
that.
fight you. I read Star Wars books. I cannot fight.
But anyways,
he'll write we'll say mean things about you on our podcast.
I'll make a Substack just to dunk on you. Anyways, with that being said, Caleb, what's your favorite arc or graphic novel of the year?
All right, this is an arc here, and this is the Afra intermediate arc. It's Dr. Afra 32, 33, and 34. This is the her team up with Luke Skywalker, where they go to the Pink Crystal Fortress and fight the Star Weird. I just loved how Indiana Jonesy it was. We got to see they teased us with another Shakti death, but
Shakti and Ayla Secura.
But it's just a tease. It's just a tease. They didn't actually show them dying there. But
if you want to see her canon death, you got to play Minecraft.
Is the Bad Batch? Is it?
It's really good. I like. There's the fun character dynamic. You see it's them changing from the first time they met. There's some wacky D&D level traps there, the mirrors that try to speak deceit into your minds there.
That is one of my favorite panels ever of I forget what Afra was being down on herself and Luke's maybe that's why Sana left you.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so good. That entire arc is just hey, do I want to get a fun little Indiana Jones injection of fun, wacky Star Wars energy? It's great.
And also from the D&D perspective, Star Weird was literally a tabletop RPG Star Wars character, so it definitely has the feeling of you get to the end of the campaign and here you got the Star Weird.
You gotta fight the Lich now.
And it sound from the little bit I think Caleb, you described it before, and he sounded this character in the RPG sounded completely busted and broken.
Oh yeah, it was designed for if you had a party of 4 Jedi Masters, it would be
it was an in-game encounter.
Yeah, it was an in-game this would be this is the most difficult creature you could fight, because I think if I remember correctly, it's it's also incorporeal, so every time you actually hit, just roll it, flip a coin, and 50% of the time it just misses.
So crazy stuff. Very fun arc and graphic novel. We're gonna get into some of our creator awards. Next up for this, we got Best Artist is up. I can start off because Caleb and I are we can tag team this. Our favorite artist of the year is Paolo Villanelli. Paolo absolutely destroying it with Bounty Hunters. He was so good. He got poached away by Marvel main stuff and is doing a Captain Marvel series now.
Good for him.
It's going to be great looking.
This is the first time, for those keeping track at home, that we have finally agreed on something. This entire setup here. Paolo, I love his artwork. Not only is it very nice and detailed, but I also love how he does action scenes. An entire page when he does an action scene, you feel the weight of people's movements, of characters' movements. So they're vaulting over cover, and then the next panel, it's at the same angle, or the same shot for a better term, just different angle. So you kind of feel you're moving around with these characters, and you have a really great idea of how things are being presented through the combat here.
Yeah, and which is good because Bounty Hunters is arguably the most action heavy of the ongoings,
absolutely.
at least as far as like raw gritty action. Because Vader's just like killing people with his lightsaber and with the Force, or running him over with a freaking pod racer. But Bounty Hunters is like they've got knives or vibroblades, whatever, and they're punching each other and all that good stuff.
His Trandoshan work.
I was about to
I don't
say
know
Boss-
why it's so good.
No, it's great.
That's
The
why
way he
Boss
draws
has shippers now.
Yes,
Yeah.
and if you're ever on Twitter and Valance Nation is bullying Ethan for making us miserable over Valance being miserable, he will always say it's Paolo's fault. So that's always a fun interaction to have.
Nice.
But yeah, a great artist. I hope he comes back and does some other. I think he actually is helping out with the last issue of Bounty Hunters, if I remember correctly.
That'd
issue
be nice.
42. It's a nice little send off, but yeah, it's understandable that he's going on to Cape Comics with how good he's been doing. But Oz, you have another outstanding artist that I think is probably at least in all of our honorable mentions.
Yeah, and that's Peach Momoko or Momoko. I'm not sure the proper way to pronounce her name. She has kind of blown into the scene, like variant cover queen for sure. Like she's the first thing I saw from her was that Kiev cover.
That was like
issue
High Republic
3,
4?
maybe. Yeah, it was a very early High Republic issue. She's done a handful of High Republic, and a bunch. She does a bunch of variants for Marvel all over. Then she also did a one shot for. Well, first she did Vader Black, White, and Red. That story was wild. We talked a little a few weeks ago about her one shot for Star Wars Visions. Also wild. And I am still very excited for Ultimate X-Men. I hope it has words. I don't know if
I don't know if it's going to have dialogue, but
she is outstanding. Really creative and just really different stuff. She approaches a page not like really anyone else I've seen, and I'm sure that's a lot of just not coming from the American industry influence coming in. So it's a fresh, unique voice. But she does really cool stuff. I hope she keeps doing Star Wars. And I'm just realizing I didn't talk about Ultimate Marvel at all at the top of the show, but it wouldn't have. I don't think it would have been my top 5. But go read Ultimate Marvel. It starts as of the time the show comes out, like this Wednesday. Ultimate Spider-Man #1.
Exactly. I might have put Peach on as my best artist if she. This is not knocking you, Peach, if for some reason this gets but,
Peach, I swear if you're listening to this.
Peach not even sure speaks English.
But I feel like if she had like in a series that she actually did art for, she would be here. But
yeah, it's just a volume thing for me personally.
Exactly.
But it's just like everything she touches turns to gold. And I think it's a lot of work to do an ongoing. And I think if you can get in that variant cover game doing like Scotty Young or John Tyler Christopher,
just bag secured.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what she does. And I've also got to give a shout out to Ario. I cannot figure out cameras because I've got his art on my wall. And Harvey Tolabau too from the High Republic Adventures, I think doesn't get enough praise. This stuff is really good.
Issue 1 already of we'll talk about this. We talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago when you
whatever.
Issue 1 of High Republic Adventures for Phase 3 was phenomenal from him. So can't wait to see him back in full force with that.
Lots of great art though. But how about our writers?
Yeah, our writers. So we have many writers you could have chosen from, including Charles Soule, Ethan Sachs, Alyssa Wong, Greg Pak, Kevin Scott, Daniel Jose Older. I already said Charles Soule. But yeah, quite a few you could have chose.
With the amount he writes, I think you have to say Charles Soule's name a few times.
That's actually very fair.
That's why it's saying it's like compared to everyone else, he makes up like what 40% of all the Star Wars comics. That
uncomfortably
came out
large. I mean, he had was 25 this year.
It was. I was just about to ask that. I think it was not.
No, it was last year because issue. I have it in my show notes. 30 was the first issue of Star Wars that came out in this calendar year.
Yeah,
so
issue
25 was his 50th.
It was his 100th script, which technically I think it was like his 110th book that came out, but he had already written it or something. And it was okay. I mean, mostly that Poe story was
Was
Post-story.
yeah,
which is currently the farthest story forward in the timeline, I believe.
That is, I believe, correct. Yeah, if they can collect, honestly, if they finally give us what we want with that Poe hardcover omnibus, throwing that as a backup would be a really good touch.
I can only imagine. But yeah, so Jacob, who did you choose?
I chose. We just said it. Just gonna cut straight to the case. I chose Charles Soule just for like how much he's been, doing this year, and like the architect that he's been for the comics for a lot of these events. I think he got a promotion this year in Lucasfilm to like creative consultant or something like that.
I don't think an org chart exists at Lucasfilm. I think they just make up roles and give them to people.
Yeah, someone makes a LinkedIn update at some point, and it's just going to cause people to like make articles and videos about it.
Because I swear Dave Filoni has gotten 6 promotions in the past 5 years.
Yeah. So yeah, but anyways, Charles Soule again. Caleb's ongoing of the year with Star Wars. I think it was not my winner, but it's still an excellent series. Loved what he did with Hidden Empire, going into Dark Droids now. I've been really enjoying that. And what I've really liked so far with Shadows of Starlight. So like I think just with everything he's done and all of it being very solid, I think it was a pretty easy choice for me to put him as my author of the year. I think again, even though it was all very good, I think it's also aided by just the amount of great stuff he's been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Oz, what do you got?
I've got the other side of the High Republic coin with Cavan Scott. Although I guess Charles doesn't do the High Republic comics other than the Blade,
and Shadow Starlight.
Yeah, all right, okay. Bad transition, and then a bad recovery from the bad transition. But Cavan Scott, I feel like he and I see Star Wars the same way, which sounds like pretentious or whatever, but just I think we both want the same thing out of Star Wars. Because everything he writes clicks with me. That was very notable in Path of Vengeance. But as far as comic books, I already talked about how High Republic was my jam, and then this was not even intentional. And then I switched over to Tales from the Death Star, which is a Cavan Scott book.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then and Yoda. So actually, everything I mentioned in my other,
you are so on brand today.
Was a Cavan. That was not planned. My artist Peach was a break from that, but yeah, Cavan Scott clearly, without even realizing, I had a big Cavan year. And so
Cavan had a big year too.
And
what Path of Vengeance is up there for you too, probably for one of your favorite books of the year. I'd have to imagine.
Just mentioned that, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. I just no doubt, but
yeah, he. The first issue of Phase 3 just came out. It's already a banger. His story in Light and Life.
Tales of Light and Life. Yep, great.
So he's on fire, and he's doing at least one. He's doing the next adult novel, right?
No, that is Tessa Gratton. But he also this year wrote the Young Jedi Adventures.
Yeah, he's a TV writer.
Yeah, he wrote for the Bell and Loden story, as well as I can't remember. There was what was the other one? Stella Maru was in one.
I think that's the one he wrote for the Starlight one. So yeah, big Cavan year. You can follow his Substack. I follow that, and you get some cool insights from him.
Yeah, for sure.
Caleb, your turn.
All right. I don't think he's quite my author of the year, but I do want to specifically shout out Mark Guggenheim because, the Han Solo series was really good and we got the tail end of that. And he's also doing D-Squad, which while it might not have like the greatest, like might not be like super dialogue heavy, like there's still some great writing in there. Moments like I don't know if he's doing, how well he's doing, if he like writes out each one, or it's just like writes out and then R2D2 banged around an asteroid field for 4 pages.
Yeah,
I would love to see the script for that he hands to the artist.
James Gunn insists that he wrote dialogue for everything Groot says. But then it just says I am Groot, and I think that's what he gave to Vin Diesel to like inform his performance. So I wonder if it's the same thing with
like he made a massive internal monologue, but also and then just bang him around a lot, and then right beep bop boop bop.
Meanwhile, for Quart in Phase 1, DJO said he would just say like for him long dialogue, medium dialogue, short dialogue.
That's amazing.
Nice. But I think my overall writer, I'm agreeing with Jacob here, is again Charles Soule. If only because, like, again, Star Wars, like all the crossovers. As I said, I was a little like, I'm 100% all in on this Dark Droids crossover, so I'm glad he's kind of hitting his stride, and after like 4 big crossovers, we're having like a really successful outing all the way across the board.
I mean, he is, at least on the Marvel side, the most prolific.
He is
canon.
the guy. Yeah,
he is the guy,
because he's over 100, probably close to 120 now issues since Lando was 2016.
Yeah.
2015, I think.
Yeah, but basically in about six or 7 years, he's doing 10 to 20 issues a year, and he wasn't even at the beginning super prolific, and now he's just every month there's 1 or 2 Charles Soule books for you.
It's like him,
like 3 or 4.
Cavan's got to be up there.
Yeah,
and like
Daniel
Greg Pak oddly is up there.
Yeah, I mean he's been writing Vader for 40 issues.
He's been writing Vader, and then he also wrote Star Wars as well.
Oh yeah, he did a run after Jason Aaron.
And like Jason Aaron, Kieran Gillen also
that's right,
up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Charles is probably the number 1 writer just from a quantity standpoint at this point of Marvel canon.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, everyone we just mentioned, check your mailboxes because you got a statue coming to you from Jacob.
If you do not have a statue, I might tweet at you and give you a nice thumbs up and send you well wishes through the internet. But the last thing, again, this is a very awkward category to do because we have not read Revelations yet, and you probably have. But what are
it's probably important.
Probably very important. What are our most anticipated things for Star Wars comics next year? We got such nominees or possible choices as pretty much all or most of High Republic Phase 3 comics. We got the Hyperspace Stories original graphic novels that include an Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon probably next year, and then many more to come. We got whatever is happening. We got Jango Fett. We got a Mace Windu. We got whatever is happening after these stories end with the Empire Strikes Back, post-Empire Strikes Back comics.
Thrawn Alliances.
We got Thrawn Alliances.
We got the Grisk, baby.
We got Grisk in visual media. We even have a Nubs Court.
I forgot about the Nubs.
That also has Plants vs. Zombies in the back of it. But there's so many things to choose from. But Oz, if you could choose one thing, what would that be for next year? Or 2 things?
I'm going to stay on brand. It's High Republic Phase 3. All of it, really, but particularly the Marvel comics, because I'm happy that we're back with Keeve. And then even more particularly, actually breaking from Kevin Scott for a second and back to our boy Charles, is The Broken Blade, which is not official yet that it's coming out, but it's about as official as it gets. And if you have read Eye of Darkness, go read it. It has a lot of good Porter Engle content in it to get us excited for where his character may or may not go next. So that's just I'm really looking forward to High Republic being back, or I'm glad it's back in this time period, and I'm looking forward to where it goes.
All right. Mine's is close to that. It's going to be specifically the High Republic Adventures Phase 3. I'm ready to see what DJO has cooking here. He did I liked his Sav Bargain High Republic Adventures Phase 2 series. It's great when he has you can see these are characters he loves and wants to keep writing them. So I'm excited to see what happens in Phase 3 with all these characters. I think it's about to drop. The first issue is about to drop or just has dropped on us, and I haven't gotten around to reading it.
Yeah, it's out. It just came out yesterday. As of time of the recording.
I need to pick it up then.
It's the same thing for me. I liked the Phase 2 run. Okay, it was fine. It was kind of, I know we hate this word, but it was kind of filler. It was a fun adventure.
You didn't want to know. You didn't love seeing where Daxter Jaxter comes from.
Yeah, but it's cool being back with some of the Star Harper crew from Phase 1, and like I said earlier, I think they have an undersung story. Maybe the best through line story from Phase 1 is them into Midnight Horizon. So this comes right out of that, right out of the Free Comic Book Day issue. Actually, I'm looking forward to that too, Caleb.
Yeah. Mine is, again, people have read Revelations will probably already know what this is, but I'm just excited for whatever Alyssa Wong is doing next. We know what Ethan's doing next with that Jango Fett miniseries. But fun thing that came up this week as of recording, there's like an interview with one of the like publishers for Star Wars comics. I don't remember his name off the top of my head. Mark Paniccia.
He's the editor, yeah.
Yeah.
The Marvel.
And he's like kind of hinting at things. It's a tie-ins, sort of like Revelations and what's coming next for Star Wars comics and blah, blah, blah. And his quote about Alyssa Wong's work is, Alyssa Wong and David Baldion are introducing a new bounty hunter that's going to cause some massive headaches for a certain star-spanning archaeologist. So, okay, obviously that's Afra, but who is this new bounty hunter? Is this what's happening with Alyssa next? I looked up David, or David, or however you pronounce his name, while you guys were talking. He's done one thing for Star Wars so far, and that is the Bausch one shot, which is still one of my favorite comic books of all time.
Right.
I have been. They said new bounty hunter, so I don't think it's going to be Bausch and crew. But I've been praying so long. Yeah, but
you want that Ubi's resolution.
Yeah, it's been my bucket list for so long. I want to see what's happening there. So yeah, Alyssa Wong's next Star Wars project that is not Escape from Valhalla, which I am excited for. Star Wars comics project is my number one.
Maybe it's not Afra. Maybe it's just Lucky that they're following.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's like
just Lucky's not an archaeologist.
Like, you know what?
He's taking the mantle.
I would love to see. And she's not new, but David Lompop, and Afra. I feel like
Justina Ireland's not writing it, so
I know
Yeah.
she's not writing it. So
up.
I know she could, but still, I feel like that'd be a fun combination. But yeah, so new bounty hunters, that's fun.
But yeah, it's been a fun year for Star Wars comics. It's been a fun year for the Cosmic Force, and I think we've all had a great time. If I've done the math right and there are no delays, here are some issues we might talk about on the next episode of the Cosmic Force, including Shadows of Starlight number 4, the final one, Darth Vader number 42, Star Wars 42. It will not be Mando season 2 episode 8, even if that is the finale. I'm sorry, you watched The Mandalorian a couple years ago at this point.
It's the Luke Skywalker episode.
It is the Luke Skywalker episode. That's pretty sick. Not gonna lie. And it's when Grogu got handed off to then be handed right back. Anyways, what a great year.
Adaptation.
But let's be honest, it's going to be Bounty Hunters 42 we're talking about.
Does that come out during our break?
Is that not till February? Okay,
I think it's late. I think it's late January. So
okay, well, sorry, I jumped the gun for you.
I will force you all to catch up. That's coming.
Yeah, sure.
Anyways, thanks all. Oz, Caleb, it's been a great year.
Yeah, I hope that everyone listening also had a great year. And like we said, let us know your favorite things or least favorite things. If you're angry about the size of some of the comic books that came out, we will definitely be your shoulder to cry on.
If you're angry about the amount of money you had to spend or the delays to Dark Horse comic books, my DMs are open. Actually, they might not be. I don't know. Anyways, what a great year. But hey, hopefully we will see you in 2 weeks. If we haven't been, unless we get pulled off the air for doing an hour and a half long end of the year episode, that'll do it for this week's episode of the Cosmic Force. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the show right here on YouTube, where you can watch us every other Wednesday. We also encourage you to subscribe to our audio version on whatever podcast platform you listen to. You can also follow us on Twitter and tweet at the show at Cosmic Force Show to stay updated about Star Wars comic book news. You can follow the host as well. I'm at Jacob Bausch. Caleb's at Caleb Lamanek. Oz is just Oz. For news, reviews, articles, and the reviews for the rest of the wide galaxy of Star Wars content, please be sure to visit youtini.com, where we also encourage you to join our Discord community by going to youtini.com/Discord. You can support the show by heading to patreon.com/Youtini and receive